Although the conversations take place between me and the storytellers, I know, they know, we know that the stories that are shared here are much bigger than us. It's much bigger than a conversation between one or two people. It's much bigger than a conversation between a few people. And we know that the messages being shared here have the capacity to reach far beyond just us, whether that be on location, whether that be across time. In this series, which I'm calling For Those Who Will Come After, storytellers reach across time, sharing messages and reflections for future generations, sharing what they want them to know, remember, and carry forward in the ongoing pursuit of social justice.
I want them to know that those of us who are doing this work right now are thinking about them, and the world already exists the way it exists in our life, but I am always thinking about how their lives are going to be and how we can make the healthcare system, the workforce better for them. And then I would say, continue to fight the good fight. I think those of us who work in the social justice space, it is both emotionally exhaustive, sometimes physically exhausted, but also inherently rewarding to see when the wins come, the wins feel great. And to continue to educate yourself, do the work, and feel this sort of excitement and thrill of getting to, wow, I got through to this, even if it's a dialogue, I got through to this one person and I saw that light bulb open. So continuing to do all of this work and fight the good fight, because I do believe it's worth it. I think the long days, even the days where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go lay down now. I'm not talking to anybody else for the rest of the day, but I think it ends up being partake.
It's worth it.
I want them to know the work is ongoing. I want to thank them for taking the baton and going farther than we did. I want them to know they are descendants of a powerful, beautiful, resilient people. And so there is nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't do. Doesn't mean it won't take long. Doesn't mean that it'll be easy. Doesn't mean it won't be frustrating. But your roots are strong. Your roots are deep. And we are descendants of a powerful people. So you have everything you need to take this to the next step. And we love you. We love you. From afar, we love you.
I have a 1-year-old nephew. And I think a lot about what the world that he's inheriting, climate disaster and potential fascism, right, on the rise. And I guess I would want him to know that there's so many of us out here setting the stage for him and my goddaughter who's 2 and the other babies in my family and your children, for them to take it to the next phase, right? Like, this work and these stories are not about me. It is, right, about me and you, but it's about how do we lay the groundwork for the next 50 years of change? Knowing that the pendulum swings back and forth, right? Knowing that there will be another wave of white lash, right? And so what are the things that you and I and others can do to build resilient systems, our own systems in organizational systems and other types of systems, so that he and your children and others can move it to the next phase, right? Because what they're going to be facing is probably going to look quite different than what we see today. We're seeing the beginning, we're seeing the seeds of that. So I would want them to know that we have worked hard, that we're doing our work, we're coming correct, and we are doing our work so that they can take it to the next iteration of what they're going to need to do to continue the work of freedom and liberation.
Yeah. Here's my very real answer. And this is a dark, cynical note to end on. I don't even know if we'll have future generations. That makes me really worried. when I look out on the world today, it is on fire, and I don't see anyone interested in putting it out. And that really scares me. I hope that there are future generations that will get to listen to this. My main hope is that there's future generations that won't want to listen to this or need to listen to this, because there'll be equity, equality, right?
Yeah.
That there will be a better future. But I think maybe my message is actually not to them, but to us. I will say as adults, and not youth, but as adults in the right here and now. I think the message that y'all need to hear is to start acting like you care about future generations. Stop acting like you are the center of the universe and everything needs to revolve around you, and whatever is good for you in the now is the best way. Decenter yourself and start to think about your decisions from the perspective of, does this help future generations? Does this help my future loved ones? Does this help future ancestors? Does this help the future? Because I feel like we have such a neoliberal, right here, right now, selfish mindset, at least in the West, that it worries me about even having future generations. But I think that's the helpful thing. So start to think about it. What can you do to ensure future generations? And if we all asked ourselves that and started acting on behalf of that, I think we would see better initiatives around climate change, better initiatives around gun violence, better initiatives around teaching our true history, around telling our stories, about uplifting queer and trans and black and brown and people of color and disabled individuals and all these people who we push aside because we don't want to look at them. It's inconvenient. I don't want to deal with your justice right now. This is my time and I'm going to take what I can get. If we centered the most marginalized and thought about how do we make this world a better place, not for me, I'm actually going to sacrifice some of my joy and happiness in the right now to ensure a better future generation. I think that's a huge step to us getting us to that point where maybe a future generation can actually listen to this.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Gen Z and Gen Alpha is that collectively, folks in those generations are challenging and rethinking work. And I've gained so much from the ways that those generations are relating to work and demanding for things to change and be different. So my message to the next generation is keep rethinking work, keep challenging the status quo. And if there are pervasive inequities that are just accepted in your workplace or in your institution, that you're valid and wanting to change or rethink those. And I feel grateful for the work that's been done, even up until now, to do that. So keep going.
But I would say I agree with that statement that was often said, that Black life is not a monolith. What I believe is a monolith is that we're oppressed. We're oppressed by a white hegemony system, racial capitalism, global imperialism, sexism, and misogynistic dynamics, right? And we have a right to fight against that. We have a right to overthrow that. We have a right to be free, to be liberated. But to do that, it requires a study. It requires a learning what you don't know to be the better person that you can become. But we have to remove these boxes, these barriers. The guy that went to prison. Not everybody has to go to prison to be who I am. Not everybody has to go to Harvard to be who I am or be Malcolm or whatever, right? There's different paths, there's different routes. But here's the fundamental thing that is a common denominator, that we all face some form of oppression, right? But when we're vulnerable enough with each other, this is what I expressed on my blog. This is what I expressed in my school dorm. This is what I expressed at the salon. Then we can go through a collective healing process. Healing is one aspect of it, but then there's the aspect of that now, your words earlier, to be activated. We can't continue to be afraid to confront the things that has hurt us, confront the things that have oppressed us. Like, we've been conditioned to say, I don't want to watch another slave movie. I don't want to watch such and such because of the trauma and the pain. Sorry. Only way you heal that is by confronting them, by embracing. Because here's the thing, slavery is not Black history. Slavery is American history. You know what is Black history? How we responded to it, our resistance, our resilience, our courage, our determination. And we only can get that by looking at the beast in the face. And that produces the healing, that produces the love. If I only look at my mother through the lens of a welfare mother, then I won't see the good in her. I won't see the ability for her to go in that kitchen when there's only so much in that kitchen. She cooks a gourmet meal. And the gourmet meal is a result of the love. My inability to recognize my father for his goodness would not allow me to accept him, because I'm only looking at him as the young man that abandoned us. He wasn't finished. He continued to grow. And in his growth, when I needed him the most, it impacted. But in forgiving my father, I forgave myself. And I'll conclude on this. I always get asked this question: what would I say to my younger self? First thing, I would hug my younger self. And I would say it was all right to be angry, to be more patient with my mother, to be more loving, more understanding, to be more thoughtful in things. The potential was always there. The light got dim because of the anger, because of the frustration, when I thought the grass was greener on the other side. The grass is greener by cultivating the best person who we are and accepting who we are. So, and for future generations, knowing that we're accountable and responsible. When I read a book called Black Women in White America, I cried myself to sleep after reading, because I realized if I had died at the age of 19, my legacy would have been a gang member. And I had violated all that it meant to be Black in America. And that is a responsibility. That is a choice that we all should make. But that you only can make that choice with the right information. And I would say, don't let them kill the Malcolm in you. Don't let them kill the Astada in you. Don't let them kill Ida B. Wells in you. Don't let them kill the Booker T. Washington, the Marcus Garvey. And we can't continue to divide ourselves. We're going to have differences, but all contradictions are not antagonistic.
All contradictions are not antagonistic.
You have power. You have resources. You have voice. You have visibility. You have agency, and you, in some ways, have safety. And if you don't have as much as you need right now, join with others so that you can build it. Action with others and connection with others is the antidote to despair. Do not do this work alone. It is not possible. So together you can build power, and you can also just stay grounded in the work. So just make sure you are never, ever doing or trying to do the work in isolation. With your power, you have choices, right? And so I really employ you to remind myself every day, as much as possible, to use my power to bring more power to people, right? To try to do more liberation work than oppression work. Tip the scales to freedom. And that has to be done with intentionality, though. Right? And we can't do it if we don't acknowledge the power we have. So yeah, that's I think what I would want to say.
Okay.
And what I say to myself today, yeah.
What I would want to share is that you count and you belong. That no matter how you're wired, no matter how challenges and even the trauma that you face are significant to build into the next generation, to support and heal you, and to build into the next generation. That there is so much more hope than there is hate. And we have to find where that hope is and align ourselves with that to continue to push it and to force it in that way. They say it takes more nerves to frown than it does to smile. And so having to use that as a comparison to hope. So hope is there, not some fake phony hope that is just, churchianity, but real hope that is able to say, okay, in community, we're gonna be there. We just saw a movie last night, my wife and I, about adoption, about in this place called Possum Trot. Did you see? It was Possum Trot, Texas, Arkansas, somewhere in the South, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the preacher and his wife, they adopted these kids, but then they got the whole community adopting kids, like 22 families. And then after a while, they called the lady and like, yo, we got a whole other group of families that want to adopt some kids, the most troubled kids. And the lady said, yo, ain't no more kids. The man said, ain't no more kids 100 miles to the north, south, east, or west of you that need anybody to take them in. Like, they put in that work. And so I'm saying that in light of, they could have easily said, give me the soft kids. Give me some kids that really just need a spot and they know how to handle themselves. They took on no kids who been beaten by their own family, let alone by other families that were trying to foster care them. And they just loved on these kids until they can love themselves, man. That's why I say that level of tenacity is what is there within us, and yet continually needs to be.
My number one is that you will chronicle your story. In an age of misinformation, disinformation, I just believe that one of the ways that we fight back is by chronicling our stories. Some of us are writers, some of us are artists, some of us are comedians, some of us are podcasters, some of us are videographers, some of us photojournal. It doesn't matter what medium you're using, but I'm a huge proponent of chronicle your journey, because so many of us have been inspired, ignited, and positioned by the recorded stories of people we never had the privilege to meet. And one of the things that I often say is that my body is finite, my brain is not. That is something I say. And so when you were encouraging me earlier about being consistent, it's the one thing that I think about. Shannon she's going to leave this earth. I will become somebody's ancestor. But I'm trying to chronicle as much as I can about my journey here to be a ramp to whoever is to come. And I think that is my greatest hope for elders and for folks.
If you're listening to this and many years have passed, it's now your turn to keep the story going and keep the movement going. Many of us will pass, many of us will go do other things. It's on you. And this idea, you have a full responsibility. And I think the one reflection I would have, and this has actually happened after my son was born, where I started thinking there are more future people than there are current people and people that have ever existed before. And so it's on you how we think about health and wellness for the future generations. And that's a heavy burden. But know that you don't have to do it alone. Find your tribe and make change happen.
Truth is, our time is limited. One day there'll come a moment when we've done all we can, when it's pencils down, so to speak, when our time has come to an end. Now, I don't say this to be morbid or defeatist. In fact, I say it with the hope that it offers some clarity, that it provides a sense of focus, that it serves as a reminder, a way to better understand the work that we have to do, a way to better understand our connection to a larger history and collective of people who came before us. I say it in hopes that it gives us space to reflect, reflecting on what our contributions are, reflecting on what they have been, and what they might yet become. So if you're listening to this now, you're a part of all of this too, and can have a role in what happens next. My hope is that in whatever you do, remember that we're not the first, and we won't be the last, but we're part of a long thread, a living, breathing legacy of those whose lives and work continue to echo beyond their time. What we choose to take up and what we choose to leave behind, all of that matters. And in the space between when we started and when we're done, using the gifts that are special to us and supporting others and using theirs, may we stay mindful of what we'll leave for those who come after. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and subscribe to Social Justice Origin Stories wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch video episodes on YouTube at Social Justice Origin Stories, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. Video episodes are also available on the project website, socialjusticeoriginstories.com. I'd love to hear about how you're engaging with the stories. Share your thoughts at socialjusticeoriginstories.com/contact or by emailing stories@socialjusticeoriginstories.com. To support the work of Social Justice Origin Stories, consider becoming a monthly patron. Your contributions will help keep this research going and support its mission. Visit patreon.com/socialjusticeoriginstories to learn more and make a contribution. Again, that's patreon.com/socialjusticeoriginstories. You can start or stop anytime. Social Justice Origin Stories is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Rolando Thompkins-Jones. Many thanks to many storytellers who have contributed to this project. And thank you for joining me this week. Take care.